Welcome back to the Tracy Take. Today, Ryan and I, we will be doing our Week 6 picks of the NFL 2022 season. But before we get into that, this is your first time here. Thank you for joining us, and hit that subscribe button so you can see when we create new content and go live with our shows. We go live every Monday and Tuesday night around 8:30 Central Time, 9:30 Eastern Time. Also, be sure to follow us on Twitter. We are at _Tracy_Take. And also like this video and share this video with your friends and family. And Ryan, let's get into it. Ryan, how are you doing on this Tuesday? Not afternoon. It's afternoon somewhere. It's 5 o'clock somewhere, right? How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing good. Doing good. Just another day in the life. How you doing?
Doing good. I was looking over these picks here. Super excited. Definitely like the thrill of like week one obviously is well behind us, and so now we're definitely getting into the hard part of the season, just kind of that middle part of the season where it's like guys are exhausted, but you're still not over halfway there yet where you can see a light at the end of the tunnel or be like, hey, we actually have a chance to make the playoffs. So a lot of fun games still going on here. Another big thing about this week too, first week for buys, there are 4 teams on buys: the Lions, Titans, Raiders, and I believe the Texans also. I believe the Texans are also on a bye. I'll need to check that out.
Yeah, I don't see the Texans on here.
Yes. Yeah, the Texans are on a bye this week. And I think all those teams could greatly be using this bye week for their advantage, minus the Titans, I guess. But yeah, between the Raiders, Lions, and Texans, there are only 3 wins amongst those 3 teams. So of those teams, which one do you think is most needed this bye week? Take a week off, regroup for, I guess, kind of the second part of their season.
I would probably say the Raiders. That was a tough loss that they took on Monday night. And I think that, especially after Davante Adams' heated moment there at the end of the game, I think it might be good for them to kind of disappear for a week and then come back with a full head of steam. So that for me, 1-4 start.
It really stinks for Davante Adams. I mean, that guy should have obviously have known not to be in his way, after a tough loss, So really feel bad for Davante Adams. That was sarcasm, obviously, by the way. But yeah, I'd agree with you as well. One thing, I know the Lions are pretty injury prone, but they're a fun team to watch, super high scoring. So I think they could use this week for Amon-Ra St. Brown, DeAndre Swift, all their guys to become back healthy. And one thing too, as well, as now with the Lions, we are now on Jameson Williams' watch. They said that they would wait to bring him back until after the bye week for sure. So now we're just kind of waiting. He tore his ACL in January. A lot of guys on similar time injury timelines have already come back and played, such as Chris Godwin. So I think they're just being extra precautious with him, making sure that he is fully healthy and can come back. And I'm really looking forward to when he comes back because this offense is already very explosive. Now imagine once they have James Williams on the other side of Amon-Ra St. Brown. That's going to be fun to watch. But still, though, if we're talking about those 3 teams that could make the playoffs, Raiders definitely need this week. Take a step back, regroup, and come back strong. And so, but they're not playing this week. There are 28 other teams that are playing this week. We have already done our Thursday night football preview. That will be coming out in a separate video coming out tomorrow. But let's get into the other games here. But before we get into that, Ryan and I, we have a kind of a season-long competition going on. And Ryan actually beat me for the first time this past week. Ryan has first win. I've won 3, and we have tied on 1. And so that one was – I didn't like the tie. The tying was kind of boring. And so – but hopefully this week actually we have an odd number of games, so there will certainly be a winner. But another thing as well, now you're overall, when it comes to picking games, you're now over 500. You picked 42 correct and 37 wrong with 1 tie. I'm at 48, 31, and 1. And so actually, I was kind of surprised, but I didn't realize that I had given myself that big of a cushion. About 60% correct, so I'll take that. But Anyways, let's move on to this first game that we have here. It is going to be the San Francisco 49ers versus the Atlanta Falcons. Ryan, who do you have winning this game?
I have San Francisco winning. For me, San Francisco is just the better team. Kyle Shanahan is going to return to Atlanta, I think, for the first time as the head coach of
I think so.
Of the 49ers. For me, they're too good in the trenches. I know Trent Williams got hurt, but I still really like their offensive line and kind of what they have going. And I think that offense is just going to be too hard to stop. So that's one thing, but I just think San Francisco is a better team, better quarterback, better receiving group. And from what it seems right now, Kyle Pitts is at best going to be limited in that matchup. So I like the 49ers in this one.
Yeah, the Falcons are just a little bit too injury prone, I think, to make this game super competitive. Now they competed well. Well, I mean, the final score was close against Tampa Bay, but they don't have Cordell Patterson, and if Kyle Pitts doesn't play, those are arguably their top two guys. Not arguably, those are their top two guys. And Falcons' passing game is not effective enough. The run game, they kind of have a running back, but I think not having Cordell Patterson, I think, is really going to affect their running capabilities. And yeah, I just think Kyle Shanahan and the 49ers are just going to be too much. It's with a backup quarterback, they almost seem better. They almost seem better now with their backup quarterback. But yeah, I have the 49ers winning this one as well. Moving on now to your team. Your New England Patriots are playing against Cleveland. We disagree on this one. I have Cleveland going on this victory here. But is Mac Jones going to be coming back, or is it going to be Bailey Zappi? That's going to be
I don't know. Mac Jones, the injury report comes out tomorrow. If I had to guess, it's most likely going to be Bailey Zappi.
I mean, he's undefeated, like as a starter. Like, how can you keep that up? Yeah.
For me, it's going to be a moot point. I think New England's secondary is good enough that they're just going to load the box against Cleveland. They're going to play big up front, and they're going to be able to stop the run. And I don't. Jacoby Brissett, he's a good quarterback, but if he plays a full game, he just makes too many mistakes. And we saw that against the Chargers. Another thing that is not helping the Browns in this game specifically, they are averaging giving up almost 5.5 yards per run, whereas New England is a top 5 rushing offense in yard per carry. And that is just a disaster for teams that that is just a disaster setup for facing a Bill Belichick team, especially one that's going to be as run heavy as the Patriots is if Mac Jones does not play. So
is Damien Harris out?
He's going to miss multiple weeks from what I heard.
Okay.
However, I'm actually kind of okay with that because Ramondre Stevenson averaged almost 7 yards a carry against the Lions. So who have almost the exact same run defense as the Browns, statistically anyway. So
for me, I definitely thought about that too. I think it's going to be a smash mouth type game. But I do still give the edge to the Browns and their ability to use play action. Yes, they might load the box, but I think that it's going to be such a run heavy game with Amari Cooper, David Njoku, then you're going to Donovan Peoples-Jones as well. Their Patriots secondary has improved, but I think just being at home, I think the Browns are going to win a tight one here, like 20-17. I think that they're going to be. No one's been able to stop the Browns' running game with Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. So yes, I could absolutely see the Patriots loading the box, but I don't know if I don't know who would be able to. I don't know if they would. If that still means that they would be able to stop it.
Yeah. So the only New England's run defense to me is statistically poor because of the Ravens game. Lamar Jackson they had like 200 and something rushing yards against us. And actually, like in every other game, their run defense has been pretty good. Even Green Bay with the rushing attack that they have, we only gave up 150 total yards rushing, and they ran it like almost 40 times.
Is the Patriots secondary that good though? Like is there like can someone shut down? Can someone shut down Amari Cooper though?
Like, so I don't think one individual person can, but I think we'll be able to single David Njoku, and then we'll be able to double Amari Cooper.
And then are you okay? So that's 3 guys right there.
Yeah.
So then let's say they have Donovan Peoples-Jones on the other side. I'm trying to remember who. I know they have David Bell as well, but I don't think he plays as much. But so then you're going to have at least one guy on Donovan Peoples-Jones. So that's 4 guys. So now are you saying you're going to put 7 guys in the box?
If they're going to run that set, we're going to have to. The only difference is Kyle Duggar, who will be the one covering Njoku. Njoku majority of the time comes off the line. And Kyle Duggar playing downhill is a matchup I will take every day against David Njoku. So yes, we'll probably have to play with like 7 in the box. But if Kyle Duggar is in coverage on David Njoku, that's kind of like playing with another half person in there. Just with the speed that he can play with coming downhill. So I like this matchup for New England. They kicked the shit out of them last year. Both teams were pretty banged up. But it was 41-14. So it wasn't even close. So
I forgot about that game. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So okay. Well, but Browns didn't have Jacoby Brissett as their quarterback. So
I mean they had Baker, so it's not.
I know.
He's supposed to be better. Yeah.
That was a joke, but we'll have to see. I do think it's going to be a closer game at Cleveland. I don't think the Browns actually really have been blown out in any of their games.
I don't think it'll be a blowout.
All 3 of their losses, I think, have been by 1 point, 2 points, and then 3. They've lost by 6 points. So I think it will be a closer game, especially then if Bailey Zappi plays. That will definitely affect any kind of passing or deep threat ability. Browns might do the same thing as what you said. Put 8 guys in the box and be like throw the ball. We dare you.
Yeah.
You know.
I think the teams are fairly similar. I think the Browns have the advantage of Amari Cooper. He's the best receiver that's going to be on the field. But I think New England will actually be able to surprise the Browns a little bit because Tyquan Thornton's back off IR. So with Tyquan Thornton and Nelson Aguilar on the field, they will have 2 guys running low 4.3s, high 4.2s. So like that is a little bit of a X factor that I don't think anybody has seen on tape yet. That'll be an interesting dynamic, like a little curveball thrown into this game, because I think New England might actually have the speed advantage on offense for the first time in like 7 years. So
Tom Brady was definitely holding them back on overall speed advantage. So let's move on though to the next game here. So it's the New York Jets at the Green Bay Packers. And we both picked the Packers here, but man, I really wanted to pick the Jets.
I did too.
I really wanted to pick the Jets.
So one of the big things was I just can't envision the Packers losing 2 underdog matchups in a row.
Or the 2 teams in New York in back-to-back weeks.
Yeah. And it's at Lambeau. I don't know. To me, I think this is just dialed up for the Packers to play well, but I think the Jets they just pose a different threat. Yeah, because I really think that they can spread it out and then they can run a power game with Garrett Wilson, Elijah Moore, and Corey Davis and run a power offense with a spread.
Their running back combination with Breece Hall and Michael Carter amazing. I mean, both of those they hit the jackpot. Michael Carter last year, and then now Breece Hall. I mean, I think that's going to be the next Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt running back duo that they have. And Zach Wilson's coming back, and that was his first game last week. No, who they play?
Second game. They played the Steelers the week before.
Pittsburgh, and then they played Miami. Yeah, last week, and a no contest game against Miami.
Yeah, 40-17, I think.
Yeah, another thing too with the Packers as well is I do still think they have a top 10 defense, but they really struggled last week against the Giants, who don't have any receivers at all. Now they're going to be going up against Corey Davis, Elijah Moore, Garrett Wilson, and then you have Zach Wilson, who's a mobile quarterback. Then you're going to have that running game. It's going to be a lot. It really is going to be a lot.
Burned them last week, like he really burned them
with a sprained ankle too, right?
Yeah, with a sprained ankle. Yeah. And so it's a really interesting matchup. I think the Packers might be in trouble here. Like they might be.
This is one of those where it's like the smart pick is the Packers, but the fun pick, like this is the upset. This to me is the upset pick of the week. Just looking at all the games later on, this is the one definitely on paper. One team should be significantly better than the other, especially at this point. Yeah. But I can absolutely see the Jets winning this game. That all being said, I'm going to stick with the Packers, especially for now.
Yeah. One thing I do want to see is the actives and inactives, because I think Green Bay has a couple injuries that might be interesting to look out for. Specifically, Jair Alexander. He's been battling a groin injury so far this season.
That could be big. Yeah. That will be big if he doesn't play. But moving on now to the next game, which actually this is the next game that we disagree on. These teams have already played, and it's an AFC South rematch. Jacksonville Jaguars at Indianapolis. Why do you think the Jags are going to
win? Their win was so dominant the first time that these teams played, and the Colts look really, really bad. Like they should not have scored. They should not have won that game in Denver at all. They should not have even scored 12 points. To me, it looks like Michael Pittman is still playing a little injured. Alec Pierce looks really good, but outside of that, I mean, it's like Jonathan Taylor. Like they're optimistic he'll play in week 6, but then how healthy is he? Can they even get him involved, like really involved? And then also Jacksonville's coming off a loss to Houston, and I think they're going to be a little extra motivated this week to come in and get back up there in the division rankings. So for me, I just like Jacksonville. I think they have more talent and they're playing better at the moment.
Yeah. So fair. I absolutely could see Jacksonville winning this game. For me, I think the X factor is one, it's going to be at home for Indianapolis, and two, having Michael Pittman and Alec Pierce and a couple of guys back on defense, I think is going to be a big difference in this game. Alec Pierce, I think, is starting to turn into the guy, and the reason why they drafted him with their first pick. It was in the second round, but it was their first pick. Like, we need another guy to go along Michael Pittman. And that dude is scary fast. I mean, that dude, I tweeted this, and I believe it. He's the next Cooper Kupp-esque guy, a really big, fast white guy. And I think that he is going to be like, he's going to kind of morph into that essentially, because the dude's so quick. Like, you saw, like, when he hits these little slant routes and Matt Ryan gets him the ball, dude's gone. Like guys are having to. They are just trying to grab onto something so they can slow him down. And so you match that up with then with Michael Pittman on the other side. And that's fair if he's still a little banged up, but then a healthy Michael Pittman, I think it's just going to be some time. Yeah. I also think too that the running game has started to come around a little bit for the Colts. And it was around this time last year when that offensive line finally figured some things out. And that's when this running game started to go to 100 yards game and then up to 110, 120. That's when they really started to take off. So I think that this is going to be a big game for them. Similar to kind of the Green Bay, don't really want to, but I didn't really want to pick either one here. But I'm just going to go with the home team. I think that's going to be kind of a trend for me.
So I have a question for you. To me, there's a few like crucial games throughout a season where you can really see like two close teams kind of like diverge. One goes up and one goes down. Do you think that this is one of those games for Jaguars Colts where like the winner like ascends to be a division winner contender and the loser kind of is like they kind of fall down to the bottom of the division?
What's Jacksonville again? Are they 2-3?
2-3.
Maybe the only thing is I feel like I feel like the Colts have kind of, I think we're slowly starting to see them go up and improve. So it's like, even if they lose, but let's say it's the close loss to a team that blew them out earlier in the season, that to me is like, okay, then they're showing improvements. They're figuring some stuff out. Because then they're only a half game under 500 still.
Yeah.
Because they're 2-1. The Jags would be at 500. So like the Colts would still be right behind them. Because that tie with the Texans is actually kind of huge, especially if you think about like their tiebreakers and their future, like and how that can impact the playoff.
Yeah.
As ugly as a game as it was, I do think that it was a huge confidence and momentum builder for the Colts that like they can win this game, because it was still, and you brought this up last week and we've talked about this before, but people forget that the Colts were 1-4 at this point last year and should have won the not won the AFC South, but should have at least made the wild card. So there's still a lot of season left. If anything, though, with the Jags losing to the Texans, I could see maybe the Jags slowly going down, because they had some momentum. 500, very surprising for them to be here. Fought hard against Philadelphia, should have beat the Texans. Don't know why that they played so poorly. But then if they lose this one, now back-to-back division games, especially if it's not a good showing, I could see maybe the Jags start to regress a little bit, especially going into the middle part of the season.
I agree with you. I think that this is a pivotal game, because I think if the Jags can be at 500, they should stay at about 500. But if they get down 2-4, I think that pretty much eliminates them from the division. However, to me, the same thing for the Colts, though, because after this, they have to travel to Tennessee, who they already lost to at home. And then they have a game at home versus Washington, which is easy. But then they have to travel to New England, to Las Vegas, then versus Philadelphia, versus Pittsburgh, to Cowboys, Vikings, and then Chargers. Like, that's a really, like, you have two games in there, the Commanders and Steelers, that I think you should win. All the other games, if they don't show improvement, I'm picking against them. Like I think they lose the majority of those games.
No, and that's fair, and that's a good analysis too about their future schedule as well. So it's a good point. I think that I think both teams can still beat the Titans. The Titans, Treylon Burks is on IR. They are on bye this week, but it's still, Titans are very vulnerable. They're not the team that they were last year. And so this division is still wide open, even if they lose even if both teams lose, they're still not super far out of reach. But it's an interesting question, especially then to come back to this point after this week. And then 6 weeks from now, we can come back to this game and be like, this was a pivotal moment for both teams, if it does go in that direction that you were talking about.
Yeah.
So, but it is something to think about.
Yeah. But let's move on here. Minnesota versus Miami. Who do you have winning this one?
So for me, it's Minnesota, mainly just because I don't know who's going to be the starting quarterback for Miami, because Teddy Bridgewater got out of the game, I think, off the first play against the New York Jets because of the concussion protocol. I saw the video, questionable at best, and things that we've talked about where it is. I think he was a victim of an overreaction to the concussion rule. And so now if he's out then for a week just because of whatever the protocols are, and then Tua's still out, who's going to be their starting quarterback? Then on top of that, the Vikings offense is very solid. You still got Justin Jefferson. If Xavier Howard is still hurting, or if he doesn't play at all, that's going to be a huge loss to that defense because they're going to need him to be one-on-one against Justin Jefferson.
Yeah.
So I have Minnesota winning this game. I think it'll be a tough one. I just think Miami right now is really struggling with injuries.
I agree with that. I have Minnesota pretty much for the same reason. Xavier Howard, they are uncertain if he will be able to go, which to me sounds like if he does go, he will not be 100%.
Well, and so let's say one of the things then with that defense is a heavy pressure man, and they blitz, I think, a third to 40% of the time. So let's say
they have not as much this year.
So they still do a lot of press, though. They still do a lot of press, zero cover formations. So let's say he does play, but like, coach, I'm a little banged up. I might need some help. That means they have to take one of those guys away, put safety help over.
Yeah.
And so then that's going to take away from any pressure, take away from any blitzing that they do want to do, and it's going to open up a lot more options in the short or middle part of the field. So it really hinders their defense. Their defense is all about like absolutely getting after the quarterback and then covering every single guy one-on-one. And then because the thought process is if we can be at the quarterback in less than 2.5 seconds or in less than 3 seconds, and we're able to cover for 3 seconds, then they are then like there's nowhere else to throw. But you can't cover a guy for 4 or 5 seconds at a time.
No.
It's just impossible. Yeah. So I just think they're too banged up, and I think Minnesota just kind of rolling now, leading the North.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Especially if the Jets end up beating the Packers, which
God, that would be huge.
In a non-joking fashion, I think is a very realistic result. Up next is the Cincinnati Bengals are traveling to Bourbon Street, and they're going to play the New Orleans Saints.
Yep.
For me, I have the Bengals winning. I think New Orleans poses a little bit of a threat on the defensive side of the ball, just with the pass rush that they have. However, they did just give up 32 to Seattle. So I'm kind of questioning the true strength of that defense.
Well, I will say, and I can't believe I'm saying this, especially at this point in the season, Seattle's offense has been a little bit more explosive than Cincinnati's. Not saying that Cincinnati doesn't have that potential. They just feel like they haven't been clicking nearly as much. But, yeah, I think that their defense is going to be able to contain the Saints offense. And I think then they're just going to be able to outscore them. That's pretty much going to be it. Because, and this is shocking too as well, just that the Bengals have struggled so on offense. Because when you got Jamar Chase, then you got T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, Hayden Hurst has really come around, and then you got Joe Mixon leading the way out of the backfield. Has so many weapons, and yet they've just been struggling to put up points.
Yeah.
Who knows?
To me, it all starts with that offensive line. I just don't think that is quite in sync yet. They also still get a decent bit of penalties. I'll have to look up the actual statistics of it, but they get a fair bit of like false starts, holdings, just like drive killing penalties.
Yeah. That's too much. I do remember watching that last week against Baltimore. I felt like they had a lot of penalties on that offensive line. So, but still, I think Cincinnati's going to win. The Saints are just odd. I don't know why they beat teams, but I think they're at they're benefiting from how weak the NFC is, which is why they're not obviously a top tier team by any means, but they're definitely not in the ranks of like what Houston or Pittsburgh would be in comparison. There's a lot of these middle of the road, or there's a lot of these like bottom tier teams that the Saints just match up really well against because their defense is so good, but they can't score points. And so against a team that can score points, I just think that they just get outmatched.
Yeah. No, I agree. It's going to be really interesting to see what the Saints can do, especially looks like Chris Olave and Michael Thomas are going to be out just due to injury. So that's going to be really tough for them to even do anything on the outside. So up next is going to be Baltimore versus the New York Giants. This to me is a really interesting matchup. I put Baltimore down, but I'm really tempted to go with the Giants just because I think they match up really well with Baltimore. Just run game wise, I think the Giants have an interesting attack that they present. So
yes, but the only thing though is why I'm a little more confident with Baltimore, I think, than you are, because I also have Baltimore winning, is the Giants struggled to pass the ball, and they've just got so many injuries.
Mm-hmm.
And the weakness of that Ravens defense, it's still to me, and I need to go back and double-check the statistics. I know they just held the Bengals to 17 points.
Mm-hmm.
But it's still that secondary. And the only thing that the Giants are really good at is running the ball, and that's by the Ravens' strength is that run defense and also, I guess, run offense.
Yeah.
So similar, I think, to the Browns-Patriots game. I just think it's going to be a smash mouth game, a lot of running. But even then, Lamar Jackson, they do have the capability to throw the ball with Devin Duvernay, Rashad Bateman.
Yeah.
I want to say Rashad Ross St. Brown, and that's not it.
I was going to say Rashad. My first instinct was Rashad Penny, and I was like, no, that's the running back for the Seahawks.
No. I want to say Rashad Ross St. Brown, which is actually kind of a cool name. And then also Mark is a stud. Anyone contending with Travis Kelce for best tight end in the league, it's only Mark Andrews that can contend with him.
I think he is the best tight end in the league, but that's a different debate.
That's a different debate, yeah. And so, I think it's close, but they're by far the top two, and he's the number one receiver on the Ravens team. So I just think, top of that, yes, Giants got a big win against the Packers. I just think that now I would say that they're not as balanced as the Cowboys were, but the Ravens still can run the ball and throw the ball, similar to how the Cowboys attacked the Giants and beat the Giants a couple weeks ago at home. So
no, I agree. I also think that the untraditional offense that the Ravens run with Lamar Jackson presents a big threat to this defense because they can't just line up and play. There's a lot of reaction and in movement during the play that they're going to have to control, and I don't think that they're quite ready to do that. So, but at the same time, I also didn't think that they were ready to beat the Packers. So,
that's fair. Yeah, a lot of people didn't. Next up, we have the Buccaneers going to Pittsburgh. I mean, not really too much to comment on this one, right?
Buccaneers.
Yeah, both of the Bucs winning. If you don't have the Bucs winning, you know something that we don't.
I feel so bad for Kenny Pickett.
Hey, that's what you get when you get drafted in the first round by a team who had a franchise quarterback for 16, 17 years or something like that.
Well, no, I feel that's what you get when you get drafted by a team in the first round who refuses to draft offensive linemen high. It's this pass rush is just going to eat the Steelers alive.
Yeah.
And it's not even going to be close. I drafted Najee Harris, and I am 100% sitting him in our family fantasy league. Not even close. So,
there's not even too much. I'm trying to even think of anything interesting that we could talk about. The only thing I could see is if this game is close. I think it's a fluke for Pittsburgh if it's close, and raises a lot of concerns for me with the Buccaneers, especially then if you have the Bills. And of course, this was in Buffalo, but the Bills just last week kicked the snot out of Pittsburgh. Wasn't even a contest, super boring game. And then if the Buccaneers go and it's like a 21, similar to the Falcons, where it's they 21-14, they give the Steelers an opportunity to win. It's going to say a lot more to me about the Buccaneers than than it would be about the Steelers making it close, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
The Steelers are done. I think the Steelers, it's funny, I've seen some like mock drafts.
Yeah.
And I crack up at people that don't have the Steelers like in the top 5. Like picking theirs. I've seen some as early as like eighth or ninth overall. Maybe I just haven't seen them yet, but the ones I
saw one Pittsburgh was number 1.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah. Then maybe there's some more updated ones out there. But this was like it was Sunday night or something. I was looking at this and this probably came out before like their horrible loss against the Bills. But even then, I'm thinking like they're 1-3, and this team has showed no signs of competitiveness at all.
Mm-hmm.
And you have them like picking 12th. Like I know it's just like this is where I think they're going to end up. But it's like, man, you watch this team for 5 minutes and know these guys suck. You watch the Texans and you know these guys suck. Like they're going to be picking in the top 5 at best, if not like 1-2 overall. Like the Lions can beat both the Texans and the Steelers right now.
Yeah,
easily. So
but that's I think that's something we could maybe do on another episode. Is like talk about, or we could do it at the end of this one if you want. We do have a little extra time since we don't have 16 games. We only have 13, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Up next, Carolina Panthers. The Matt Rule-less Carolina Panthers are traveling to LA, the city where dreams come true. I don't know if that's actually what LA is, but
I don't know. Yeah. I live in Tennessee, so I've only been in California once. So
LA is not on the top of my list of cities to go see.
I'm going there in May. Actually, I have a conference that I'm going to. Yeah,
that'll be fun.
Not looking forward to it. But similar, I think with this, just not too much. Now the Rams, I don't think are as good as the Buccaneers, but just nothing. I don't really think that. I also don't even think Sam Darnold's still hurt because Baker Mayfield's not playing.
Mayfield's out,
and Matt Corral. And Matt Corral is also out.
I mean,
so I don't know who's their quarterback.
I have no idea.
Is it PJ Walker?
It might be PJ Walker.
You think they're going to sign Cam Newton back
for a third time?
Please do that. Oh, geez, please do that.
To me, this is a complete bounce back game for the Rams. You have a team who just fired their head coach, and in the Carolina Panthers, and you really have an opportunity to come out, run your offense, basically have a tune-up game for your offense. So
it looks like it is PJ Walker, but it's funny, it's so sad, and I feel bad for the Panthers because then it said Sam Darnold IR, Matt Corral IR, and I think Baker Mayfield
IR
is going to be on, or is going to be.
The injury report comes out tomorrow. So
I had DJ Moore in a dynasty league.
I drafted him in fantasy. It's just it's a shit show over there.
I just traded DJ Moore for a draft pick. TJ Moore and Tyler Lockett for Hunter Renfrow, Darrell Henderson, and a second-round draft pick in a dynasty league. And so it's really more the draft pick. I'm excited about the draft pick. Maybe Hunter Renfrow, maybe could be something. But I've been trying to get rid of DJ Moore because I didn't want to drop him because he is still like the number one receiver on the team. But that's not saying much when it's the Panthers. It's just awful.
Well,
it's just awful.
He actually is a really good wide receiver. He's just on the Panthers who absolutely suck. Like he is like there are a few guys in the league that I would say are like a true number one. He is like he's an Amari Cooper level wide receiver in my opinion.
And this I don't want to do it now just because we got other games to talk about, but that would be interesting to see. It's like now that we have Panthers are now, I think they're going to be doing a full-blown rebuild. I think they're going to draft a quarterback. I think they're going to get rid of Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold, and just start new. Yeah. And I'd be very curious to see who's an unrestricted free agent, who's not, who do they sign on contract, who can they trade, how much dead cap space do they have. So I think also didn't Robbie Anderson just sign a deal or something like that with the Panthers in the offseason? I bet he's regretting that decision.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's regretting that decision.
DJ Moore is signed through 2024.
So he's got one more year.
Yeah, it looks like.
I could see a team trading for him and giving up like a second-round pick.
Yeah. No, sorry. He's signed through 2025, but he has a potential opt-out option for the 2024 offseason. So.
And the 2024 offseason?
Yeah, like in between 2023 and 2024. So
okay,
so it doesn't say if that's
after
a team option
season.
or a player option.
So, yeah, I'm not sure either. But if it is a player option, I wouldn't be surprised if they tried to trade him, knowing that they're going through a rebuild and it's like
they could get a first round pick. I mean, I think you have teams like New England. Buffalo might be a team that would just be like a Rams load up for Von Miller, of just like throw us DJ Moore, like we'll give you a first rounder.
You know who's got a lot of first round draft picks? The Eagles.
They do.
Yeah,
they have two next year.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah. So that would be terrifying. So
I don't know if they would do this, but not. Imagine if they did do that, because then you'd have AJ Brown, Devontae Smith in the slot, DJ Moore on the other side, Dallas Goedert, and then you just have the running game of the Eagles, who like Miles Sanders leads the way, like the running back room, but then you still have Kenneth Gainwell and Boston Scott. Like, they would do that. They would absolutely do that.
No,
because right now, I think the Eagles don't they have? I think
that'd be crazy.
Who do they trade a pick? Their pick for
another one that I think would potentially do it. Kansas City and the Chargers might, with how banged up the Chargers are. Kansas City would do it, I think.
Green Bay would also do it as well.
Yeah,
I don't know if we mentioned them. So it's actually something to think about. That actually would be very interesting, because I mean their season's shot. I'm looking forward when the Falcons play them, because maybe that'll be a win. But
I'll pick it.
But all right, now moving on now, because we talked about the Panthers a lot more. We both had the Rams winning that game. And so, Now moving on to sticking in the NFC West, and we actually disagree on this one. And for me, I am picking Seattle because I don't trust Arizona.
I'm picking Arizona because I don't trust Seattle.
See, for me, I think that Arizona has been very inconsistent on offense. They don't have a good defense. The one thing about both teams that has been consistent, well, there's two things that have been consistent, and I'm going to say it now. The Seahawks defense sucks, but the Seahawks offense can put up some points. And I just think this is going to be a shootout. And I think the Seahawks at home are just going to barely squeak it out. So I don't trust the relationship that Kyler Murray and Cliff Kingsbury has. It seems there's a lot of tension that seems to be going on within that organization, especially over the past couple of years with how quickly they have fallen down. They still don't have DeAndre Hopkins. Yes, that Seahawks defense sucks, but and also I saw too, I think the Cardinals were working out veteran running backs. Is James Conner hurt?
Wouldn't surprise me. He's hurt fairly often. For me, the X factor is Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray is the best player on the field, and 8 times out of 10, I feel comfortable putting my money on the best player out there. I have no faith in the Seattle defense at all to be able to stop this offense. This offense is good for what it is. It's above average in the NFL. And granted, once when DeAndre Hopkins comes back, I think it'll be a top 10-ish offense when he gets back. But for right now, it's good for what it is. This defense has shown some promise. They held Philadelphia to 20. They held the Raiders to 23.
They held Kansas City to 44.
Okay, but besides that, they haven't allowed more than 23 points in a game. So 4 out of the their last 4 games, they haven't allowed more than 23 points.
Yeah.
Granted, they haven't played the best offenses, but they only gave up 20 to the Rams. to me, I think Arizona, I don't think that they're a real threat to win the division, but I think that they are still one of those teams that like they can compete with some of the better teams. They can't necessarily beat them.
And for me, Cardinals haven't shown to me yet that they have like combined everything together for that explosiveness, that we can't see. And maybe some of that we'll have to do once when DeAndre Hopkins gets back because, I mean, because they're missing a huge piece on that offense. Everyone gets better once when DeAndre Hopkins gets and they really seem to be struggling. And yes, they do have that explosiveness. That's why they can compete with some of the better teams. But for some reason or another, they just cannot close. It does not seem like they close out games. They got lucky against the Raiders. They should not have won that game. And then they beat Carolina, which isn't really saying much. And so they really honestly should be 1-4. The Raiders should not have let them come back and win that game. Yeah. So I just think in general, at home, and that's been a similar trend for me when I've been unsure on some of these games, because I agree with you. I could absolutely see Arizona, and probably on paper, Arizona is a better team. But I just think being at home, going up against a team that I don't really have faith in either, I'm just going to go with the home team. And also I think Seattle's might be a little bit more exciting because it seems like, especially as well, it seems like that they won and are winning out on the Russell Wilson trade because it seems like they knew a lot of things that the general public did not. And I think they're definitely going to be reaping the benefits of that for a very long time.
Yeah. We do have 6 concurrent viewers right now. If you guys want to leave a question in the comments, Tyler and I will answer them.
Yeah.
But for now, we'll continue on with our picks for the week. This, to me, is the game of the week. The Buffalo Bills are traveling to Kansas City for an AFC divisional round rematch.
Let's honestly, and sorry to interrupt, but let's honestly, I feel like saying now, I don't want to say that because we are on YouTube, not that, and there's only 6 people watching them, so can't say anything threatening. But let's honestly write a very strongly worded letter to whoever did all the primetime games and decided that we were going to have 4 primetime games of the Denver Broncos. Then on the 4th game, there also was Buffalo versus Kansas City, and they decided not to make that a primetime game. This should most definitely be a primetime game. It is a damn shame. Sorry for swearing. A damn shame that this is not a primetime game. Ridiculous. I didn't realize this, but then when I was going through our picks and I saw this, like absolutely, I got upset. I absolutely got upset. I think I might actually have to write a letter because this is absurd. I am so excited for this game. I think
post it on Twitter if you do.
I should. I really should. Then all of our 4 followers can retweet it. And so absolute shame because this is going to be a great game. I think as much as I didn't want to pick the Chiefs because I have the Bills winning the Super Bowl, just with how the season's gone so far, and this offense really seems to be clicking in Kansas City, and some injuries on Buffalo, I'm going to have to lean towards Kansas City on this one.
I was leaning towards Kansas City. I just think Buffalo, they are just too good. And I just really, really like the way that they match up against Kansas City this year. They don't have to have the elite corners that are like, they don't have to have the elite corners because Kansas City doesn't have the elite weapons. The only weapon that is really elite is Travis Kelce. Everybody else is just okay. I also think that the Kansas City has gotten a little lucky. To me, they got lucky in the Tampa Bay game just by the fact that they were able to get that offense rolling so quickly because of the mistakes that Tampa Bay made. Fumble on the opening kickoff, Kansas City 2 plays, touchdown. Buccaneers get the ball back, 3 and out, punt, Kansas City 6 plays, touchdown. Like all of a sudden, within 4 minutes, they're up 14. And they lost to the Colts. They really should have lost to the Chargers. The Chargers just got greedy. And the Raiders blew a 17-point lead against them. And that is not something that I think should be taken lightly, because so far the Raiders have not looked good. Like, the Raiders are 1-4. They were 1-3 going into that game last night. So for me, I think Kansas City still has a little bit more to prove. I think that they've gotten lucky in 3 out of their 4 wins. So
yes, they like their elite weapon. They don't have Tyreek Hill anymore. But like they had 2 elite weapons last year, and now they don't have Tyreek Hill anymore, but they still have Travis Kelce. But I think what they lost in Tyreek, they have now more than gained in the amount of skill that they are able to spread out the field.
And the diversity of weapons.
A weakened Buffalo secondary. Now, what concerns me for the Chiefs, if you're a Chiefs fan, is Von Miller and that defensive front. But if you're talking about if they can defend that, you have a weakened secondary going up, and they have to cover Juju Smith-Schuster, who is still an above-average receiver, Marquez Valdes-Scantling, still have Sky Moore. And then you also have to talk about Travis Kelce, and you still have Clyde Edwards-Helaire out of the backfield, and also the Isaiah Pacheco dude, super quick. Super quick. So, and I'm sure I'm even missing some guys. It's just so many guys that they have to cover that they can hurt. Then also at the same time, Patrick Mahomes is still. Well, I mean, we're seeing the 2 best quarterbacks in the league go up against each other in this game, in my opinion. And Patrick Mahomes has had end of this matchup so far. So this is kind of one of those things, and I've made this pick in the past. It's like, as much as I think the Bills still are going to win the Super Bowl, I think they're going to keep improving, and they're going to have to get over that hurdle eventually. This is going to be one, just with how the season has panned out, I'm going to have to stick with Kansas City, because I think those defensive injuries, I think, are just going to hurt that Buffalo secondary and that defense just a little too much.
Yeah. I mean, I do agree. I think Kansas City will be able to move the ball on them. I just think that even with some of the injuries, I still think the Bills pose a different threat on defense with their ability to get after the passer that they didn't necessarily have last year. Just with Von Miller, Jordan Phillips coming back, both of those guys have been making big impacts. One thing to keep an eye on, looks like Tremaine Edmonds, who's the center, he's the play caller on that defense, the middle linebacker. He is questionable to play, and Dawson Knox, as well as Isaiah McKenzie. Those are two big weapons for the Bills. That could cause me to change my pick if those guys are ruled out. However, I still think Buffalo, I mean, third time's the charm. I think that they get it done this time. So
I mean, I would love to see it, because I would want to kind of see this rivalry, especially, I mean, we're going to be so lucky that these guys are both so young. We're going to have hopefully another decade minimum of these two guys competing. And it's a shame that they will never meet each other in the Super Bowl unless they've won.
To trade Patrick Mahomes to the Patriots so we can see it twice a year.
No, that would be dumb. You guys have Bailey Zappi. What are you talking about? You guys have the best.
Zip and Zappy.
You guys have the next Tom Brady. So
yeah, this guy's like 6'1.5", like inches. He has a better arm than Mac, but I don't think I think he's got a little bit of a ways to go.
Yeah.
So before we can call him the next Tom Brady.
Moving on now. I mean, for me, like I think that's going to be a great game, and still, like, we need to write a strongly worded letter, because this would be one of the best primetime matchups of the season if that game was primetime to go along with this game, the Sunday night game, Dallas Cowboys versus Philadelphia. Super excited about this one. I think Dallas is shocked everybody. I'm surprised that they're 4-1. Cooper Rush is 4-0. This to me, though, I think is going to be, and this is, I know they played the Bengals, and then they played the Giants, and then they did play the Rams. I mean, they played some tough teams. But this to me, though, I think if we're talking about who's playing well in the moment right now, going to Philadelphia Sunday night.
Yeah.
I think this is going to be too much for them. I think Cooper Rush is going to get his first regular season loss this year. I think Philadelphia is going to go 6-0, going to stay the only undefeated team. Philadelphia is just so balanced. They can run the ball so well, and A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and Dallas Goedert and company is such a great compliment to that running game. And Jalen Hurts has been playing out of his mind. I think Philadelphia is going to win this one.
Yeah. So my big thing is right now the Cowboys have been able to put pressure on pretty much every quarterback they face. They even sacked Tom Brady 2 or 3 times in week 1 in their only loss this season. I just really like the matchup that Philadelphia has. I think that this is a prime game for them. They're going to show up ready to play. Last week in Arizona was a bit of a trap game for them. And I think they bounced back and won that game. And I think they're going to mentally be stronger for this game, which was really, I think, the game that they all wanted to be playing in last Sunday.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I was want to talk about this. Props to Jalen Hurts. Did you see what Jalen Hurts said to the media before the Cardinals game?
No.
It was like Wednesday or Thursday or something like that. But he then had a post-practice press conference, and he was on Manning Cast that Monday night before. And so he had a 10, 15-minute media, questionnaire. And the entire time, no one asked about the Cardinals at all. Like, there's Cardinals. They mainly only talked about Manning's cast. And he said, like, before everyone left, like, hey, this is like, no one asked questions about the Cardinals. I don't want to get this preconceived notion about this team. This is a really good football team, and you guys didn't ask me any questions about them. So I just want to get that out there. And then walked away. And so I really like that mindset, and that's a great leader right there.
Yeah.
I think that he week in, week out gets he is the voice for that team and that offense, and he can lead them. And he was able to pull out a win against Arizona. I think that they're going to be more than well prepared against the Philadelphia Eagles. Yeah. And it really for me, got a lot more respect for Jalen Hurts, especially after that, because we don't really see that often. Actually, I can't really ever remember when I like another player took the time, like not just from a response to a question, but took time to say, "Hey, this is a good football team," when no one asked him a question about it.
Yeah. No. I mean, Jalen Hurts, ever since he was a freshman at Alabama, everyone has always spoken really highly of his character and kind of who he was as a person and not just a player. And even his praise when the whole Tua situation happened and he agreed to redshirt or not redshirt, but be the backup for a year and lose a whole year of eligibility to let a sophomore Tua take his final season at Alabama as the starter. So he's always been that guy. It's nice to see that on the national stage, but
and it's nice to see the class act. I mean, that is that's who you want. Obviously, you want everyone to be competitive, but then when you talk about who you're playing against, though, he seems like a genuinely class act person. Genuinely nice person.
Yeah. So, I like what the Eagles have going on here. And I do think that the Eagles are going to win this game. I do want to play a little bit of devil's advocate here. The Cowboys whipped the Eagles both times last year. It was 41-21 the first time they played. And let's see.
When did they play them?
It was September and then I think a November game.
So my one thing with that one, the September game, Eagles were not good.
Week 18 on January 9th.
Oh, so that was the last game.
Yeah.
What was this? Actually, didn't Philly win that game? Because I think they had to win.
No, it was 41 to what did I just say? 41-21 and then 51-26.
Okay,
was the final.
Well, still. The Eagles team last year, now they didn't have A.J. Brown. And the second half of the year was when that running offense really started to pick up, and they became the best running team in the league. Jalen Hurts has a whole another year under his belt. I think this Eagles team is significantly better.
Yeah.
Also,
to be 100%
Cowboys,
fair, I also think the Eagles, if I remember right, in Week 18 were locked into the 5 spot. They couldn't win the division. They also couldn't
move up anymore.
Fall back in the wild card rankings.
Yeah.
So like Gardner Minshew was the starter that game.
Oh yeah. Okay. So then no, I wouldn't count that game.
Yeah.
At all. But another thing too, though, the Cowboys, they don't have Amari Cooper anymore. Dak Prescott's not playing, even though that seems to almost be a benefit to the Cowboys. So a lot has changed, and so I still think Eagles are going to pull this one out. They haven't given me any signs on why they should not be favored to win this game.
Yeah. No, I 100% agree. All right, last game. To me, that this is a pitiful excuse for a Monday Night Football game, especially when Buffalo is playing Kansas City.
Yeah.
And that epicness is going to be going on.
I want to make it extremely clear as well about what I said earlier is I don't want to see any team, not even the Falcons, play 4 nights on prime time through the first 6 weeks. So the fact that Denver has 4 primetime games I do not like that. Now the Chiefs, I'm trying to think of how many the Chiefs have had. Now there's a significantly better team. But Chargers, like they had Chargers, Bucks,
Raiders
Sunday night, and then Raiders last week.
So that's 3.
So 3.
Because then they played who'd they play after that?
I will say
Arizona week 1.
Yeah, Arizona week 1. And in the scheduler's defense, no one knew that Russell Wilson would be playing like trash. No one knew that the Broncos would be trash. No one knew that all the games that the Broncos have played have been essentially trash. The Chiefs games have all been very entertaining, high scoring, fun, competitive football. But even then, though, you're like a lot like this. That is a lot of primetime games for one team to play. And I'm now just realizing also I'm well aware if I got my wish and Buffalo, Kansas City was prime time, then that would be 4 times throughout 6 weeks. That is the exception, not the rule. The rule should be that no team should get 4 primetime games in 6 nights. Not even
the rule should be no team should get a Monday Night Football matchup over Buffalo and Kansas City. How about that?
That should be fair. That is, for the next decade, that should be
that's
fair.
The rule.
Yeah. But this one, though, absolutely no hope or no confidence in the Broncos right now. Even then, too, what horrible. Like, not only are they playing poorly, but then just horrible decision-making. Like, even then the interception that they threw at the end of the 4th quarter. What were you thinking throwing the ball there? Kick the field goal. Colts have not come anywhere close to touchdown all night. They haven't earned from us for them to pick them to win. They haven't earned it. They haven't earned it at all. No. The only time that they earned it was when they played the Texans. And that's more because the Texans gave them that for them to give to us. But they haven't earned it. They haven't earned us to pick them to win at all.
No.
They've just been playing like hot trash.
No, I mean, like cold trash, like stuff that's been left outside for weeks at a time.
But hot trash gets stinky. When it's like 95 out. Cold trash, I mean, I'm sure it smells, but it's nowhere near as good.
But hot trash has like some movement in it. Cold trash is just fucking frozen.
They've been playing like hot trash with like old stale milk with moldy bread, and then flies, and then I have a baby now with bags of poopy diapers in it. That's how they've been playing.
Yeah, they've been playing like your trash. How about that?
Yeah. I'm very thankful that none of the Broncos players or fans are ever going to watch this video because they would probably say some very mean things about us on our channel, which I don't really care about.
Hey, any press is good press.
Hey, that's still our family group chat. Someone called us the bozos for an opinion that we had. So now that's our family group chat is the bozos.
We could be KJ Hamler's enemies. That could be the next one.
Or maybe KJ Hamler's friends if we're calling out how bad Russell Wilson's been playing. So do you think, because one thing McAfee, they were talking about that on their show. It was very interesting. Do you think like that there seems something up within that locker room? Because I
think so. Because that's not just like shoot, you missed me on one play. That's like, you have missed me for 5 weeks now. Like, that is a buildup over multiple games.
And, you know, it wasn't like Davante Adams last night where it's pure frustration, like they lost another close game that they easily could have won, especially on just something where I really think it was just kind of unlucky how him and Hunter Renfrow just ran into each other. It was really lucky.
It was completely Hunter Renfrow's fault.
Well, I still think it was because it was I mean, maybe if you had to place a blame on someone, yes, but good job though by the Chiefs secondary to push him into the field. And so that's where I think it was just literally just the timing of it with him being pushed into the field and then Hunter Renfrow making his break. It was just absolutely perfect timing. Yeah. Maybe Renfrow, but he has his break. He has his timing and everything. But even then with Davante Adams, like there's another frustration, 4 losses. Adams hasn't gone through a season like this or start of a season like this in a long time at minimum.
Ever.
You know, just because he's been on the Packers.
Yeah.
But then you have KJ Hamler throwing his helmet down and literally, like, it seems like glaring at Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
And he missed him. Like, he just totally missed him.
Yeah.
And, you know, and it's been consistent. Then you have Nathaniel Hackett making horrible, like, game management coaching decisions.
Yeah, yeah. It is a complete and utter buildup of frustration throughout the season that you can see on KJ Hamler, whereas like Davante Adams, who first of all had a step on the corner, just got obliterated by his teammate, and he's pissed off like that happened. Like you can clearly see the difference in emotion. And for me, it's I think Davante Adams, especially after, was apologetic and seemed in better spirits. They talked about it, like it'll be fixed next time type of thing.
Yeah.
We have not had that from KJ Hamler or anybody on the Broncos. It looks to be a bad situation in Denver. One of the big things, they were talking about this on PFF, but Russell Wilson has just been the way that they described it was, it looks like he saw Peyton Manning and then was like, I'm going to try to be as close to that guy as I can. And then he's just turned into like this super corny, like
he's turned into Ryan Leaf.
Yeah, like he's just this super corny, like super inauthentic version of what a leader of a team should be. And I really think that like he has lost that locker room,
which is crazy to think too, because like
he's
only been there
in Seattle.
Well, was he though? Because a lot of stuff now is coming out. Of course, now it's easy to kick a guy when he's down. But Richard Sherman, who has never had an issue talking about his opinion at all, never got along with Russ Wilson. Apparently, other guys have also said similar things. Does come out. It looks like Pete Carroll was like, everyone was like, how could you get rid of him? It seemed like he had no issues trading him at all in that GM. So I don't know. Like, we obviously are not in the locker room. KJ Hamler, maybe we're looking into it way too much, and maybe he's just frustrated that he lost a game that they should have clearly won.
Yeah, but they should have easily won. Like, not even close.
Even if they played poorly, they should have won by 10.
Yeah.
And they played worse than poorly. In case you guys haven't figured out, Ryan and I, we both picked the Chargers to win this game. I don't know if we have any viewers still left, but we both picked the Chargers to win.
No, actually, we have 7 right now.
Really? Is that a new record?
I don't know.
Oh, all right.
If you guys are watching and you want to chime into our conversation, just leave a comment in the box below, and we'll make sure to respond. But for me, I just like that Denver team looks like they have no leadership. They just are lacking everything that I think it takes to win in the NFL. So I don't like their chances in any game, like where they're playing a semi-competent team. Even if they played like Detroit, like could you imagine how many points Detroit would be able to put up?
The only saving grace for this Denver team is that their defense is awesome. The defense is very good.
Yeah.
But even Detroit, like, I don't know. I think they'd beat Detroit only just because then Detroit's defense sucks. But of course, it was week 1 though. But it was like that. Well, it's tough talking about week 1 games because all week 1 games,
it's a glorified preseason game.
Preseason game, and even then, the Broncos should have dominated that game. They had 2 fumbles on the 1-yard line, absolutely ridiculous. So it's like they were clearly the better team in that game. But since then, I mean, they barely beat the Texans. They barely beat the 49ers. And that was when the 49ers did not play well at all. The 49ers would beat the Broncos right now. That was Jimmy Garoppolo's first game back as a starter. 49ers would beat the Broncos handily right now. They just look. While the Chargers, I still have some concerns about the Chargers because they're going through some injuries, but very curious, to kind of see because when we watch this game, both these coaches have made very questionable decisions late in games or going for it on 4th down. And a lot of talk, even from Keenan Allen, who's still on IR. A lot of Chargers fans are tired of Brandon Staley going for it. We talked about it in last night's episode.
Yeah.
He's so about the analytics, and it's like, that's fine, dude, but sometimes you got to have some gut instinct and just be like, I'm going to kick a field goal here from the 1-yard line. We need these 3 points. Like, let's just get points.
Like, just game awareness. Like, it's a minute, 10 seconds left. You are on your own 40 or 42, and it's 4th and 2. Like, statistics say that if we get that we should go for it and close the game. I'm like, you have a 99.9% chance of victory if you kick this to the 10-yard line and you make the Browns with their backup quarterback go 60 yards to kick a 55-yard field goal. Like, that is, like, you want to talk about statistics, that is statistically in your favor. And to me, that is just basic, like, football. And granted, it's a lot easier to be a couch coach, but it's just, I don't know. To me, it doesn't make any sense. So,
No, yeah. But we've seen it a bunch, and we've seen it consistently. Everyone, gets judged by the one call. Like, even then, I was thinking about it. Josh McDaniels, he went for 2 last night when they scored it down 29-30. I was even thinking about that because I knew that we would talk about it today. And it's like, and you know what? I actually I disagree with the call, but I understand it just because the Chiefs had been unstoppable the second half, you know, and it's like, make them have to go down and make them have to kick a field goal to win the game. And then if they miss it or they don't get it, then they lose, instead of being let's just tie and then let's hope.
Yeah.
Let's prevent,
Which another thing too that I didn't talk about earlier when I was saying how the Chiefs, I think, got lucky in 3 of their 4 wins. They called a holding penalty on the Raiders last night on a missed field goal, missed like 40-yard field goal. And looking back at it, it was a penalty, like it was a holding. It was ticky-tack, but he did hook the lineman and try to pull him forward so a guy could get behind him and block the kick. But it's like, okay, if that guy like doesn't do that, which a defensive holding on a kick is, in my opinion, a very rare situation.
That might be the first time I think I've ever heard of that before. Yeah,
it's like all of a sudden it's still 21-21. The Raiders get the ball at the 30 or the 25, and like it's a tie football game with 6-7 minutes left. So I think that I don't know. I think the Chiefs have gotten a little bit. Yeah, I think the Chiefs have gotten a little bit lucky. So
well, I mean, we'll see. I mean, we'll see this Sunday, and then tune in on our thoughts next Monday night on the Chiefs Bills games. And so, but yeah, we'll have to see. Like, just wrapping it up. Yeah, week 6 definitely started getting into the meat of the season. Teams starting to have their buys, starting to see a lot more consistency from all the teams. Like, you know which teams are going to be consistently bad. Teams that want to make the playoffs, they got to turn it around right now. You know, like the Broncos, they have to turn it around right now. Or, I mean, they're going to lose to the Chargers. They're going to go 2-4. And then, I mean, they still got to play the Chiefs. Have they played the Chiefs yet? They haven't played the Chiefs yet, have they?
They haven't played the Chiefs yet.
I mean, I'm sorry, those are 2 losses. Like,
yeah,
I mean, I don't see them winning both those games as of right now. Shoot, I still don't see them being the Raiders. You know, I can see them losing every single divisional game.
I don't see them like this offense looks so incompetent right now. I don't see them really scoring more than 20 points. Like,
imagine being Seattle and then let's hit a Broncos, and now you're going to have 2 top 10 picks. And Pete Carroll is so happy.
Oh yeah,
so freaking
especially
happy.
In the quarterback class that's coming up.
Quarterback class and the offensive lineman class. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of offensive linemen that are coming up.
Yeah.
And so who knows, man? Yeah, it's going to be crazy. Broncos suck as of right now. And so do we have any comments here?
No, we have 7 viewers at the moment, but no comments.
That's okay.
So let's go ahead and we'll wrap it up here. Thank you guys for tuning in. If you have not already, please go ahead and like and subscribe and hit that bell notification so we can ping you every single time we do go live. We go live on Mondays and Tuesdays around 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 Central. And so we would love to continue to grow this community. We're just 2 guys who like talking about football. So go ahead and subscribe. And other than that, I think we will talk to you